It's
I
going
want
to
to
offer
share
you an
something
easy,
my daughter
frictionless,
told me.
customized
At
spiritual
first,
experience
I
that will
didn't
slowly,
really take it
gently,
seriously.
and lovingly
I
disconnect
just
you from the
thought maybe
real,
she had a
messy,
dream,
and
or her
glorious work
mind
of
was
seeking
making
God.
things up.
So,
But
I'm
now,
asking you,
with everything
begging you to
happening in
guard
the
your
world,
heart,
the
guard your
floods,
connection
the
to God.
tsunami,
Don't
especially
trade the
what we're
sacred
seeing
for
in
the
Northern
simple.
Asia and
Don't
the
let a
Central
machine
Pacific
teach you
Ocean,
how to feel,
I feel like I
how to
must
connect,
speak,
or how to pray.
because she saw
Your
these
clumsy,
places.
honest,
She
broken
mentioned
prayers
them
are
before I
infinitely more
even knew
powerful than any
anything was
perfect
going
words a
on.
machine can
It
generate
shook
for you.
me, and most
Your moments
importantly,
of
she told
quiet,
me a critical
of wrestling
message
with
Jesus
God,
gave her
of
to
just
share
being
with the
silent
world
and
the
trying to
people on this
listen for His
places.
voice.
My
That
daughter
is where
is
life
only
is.
11 years
That
old.
is where He is.
She's in
He
grade
doesn't
6
want
here
your
in
perfect
America.
words.
We're
He
close.
doesn't want your
She talks
optimized
to me about
spirituality.
almost everything.
He just wants you,
When she
all of
comes
you,
home from
your
school,
mask, your
I
questions,
always ask her
your
what
tears,
she learned that day,
your heart.
and I
Don't
encourage
give
her
that
to
most
think about
precious
it
thing
again
away
before
to a
she
shadow
sleeps.
on a screen.
I want her to
Heaven
grow
is
up
real.
knowing how to pay
Jesus
attention
is alive,
to the little
and He is
things.
waiting for you to
It
talk
was
to
on
Him.
the 21st of July 2025, the day before everything began, that she came home from school looking very happy. I asked her how school was, and she said, "Mom, we learned more about the world today." She told me they were shown a big wall map in class. Their teacher pointed to different places and said their names out loud. My daughter started calling the names one after another. She said Middle East, Southeast Asia, Western Europe, Northern Africa, and Central Pacific Ocean. She giggled as she said the names because some of them sounded funny to her. That night, as usual, we prayed before bed. I didn't know anything strange was going to happen. But the next morning, which was July 22nd, everything changed. She woke up even earlier than me. I was in the kitchen getting things ready when she ran in and said, "Mommy, I saw Jesus." I looked at her and asked, "In your dream?" She nodded and said, "Yes." But it felt like I was not sleeping. It felt real. I told her to sit down and tell me slowly. That was when she started to explain what she saw. She said Jesus came to her with a map in his hand. A big map. She said the moment she saw him, she just knew it was Jesus. She couldn't explain how, she just knew. He didn't have to say his name. She felt peace, but at the same time, her heart was beating fast. She said he smiled at her, but he looked serious too. Then he opened the map and showed her 2 places. She remembered them because they were mentioned in school just the day before. She said Jesus pointed to Northern Asia and then to the Central Pacific. He said those were the places he wanted to talk to her about. She looked up at me and asked, "Mommy, are those places real?" And that's when I began to feel strange inside. Because just the night before, we were laughing about those same names. But what she said next made my skin feel cold. She said, "Jesus took my hand, and then he took me somewhere." She told me that when Jesus took her hand, it felt warm and gentle, like he didn't want her to be afraid. She said they left her room, but not through the door. She couldn't really explain how they left, but she said it felt like they were floating, as though the world around her disappeared. She said Jesus didn't talk much at first. He just held her hand and led her quietly. Then she said they reached a place that looked like a wide-open field, but it wasn't a normal field. All around her, there were things that looked like mirrors, standing tall like windows. She said there were 4 or 5 of them, standing in a straight line, and they shone with light, but she couldn't see her reflection in them. Instead, each one showed something different, like a moving picture or a movie. Jesus stopped at the first mirror and pointed. She told me that when she looked into it, what she saw made her heart beat faster. She saw people running, not on dry land but in water. It was everywhere, streets filled with rushing waves, homes covered up to the roof, and people trying to hold on to things so they wouldn't get carried away. She said the water wasn't calm. It was loud, and it moved fast, sweeping away cars and trees and even buildings. She told me she saw mothers carrying babies, trying to run. Children were screaming. Some people were stuck on rooftops, waving for help. She didn't see boats, just water everywhere. and she saw people crying out before they were swallowed by the flood. She said Jesus looked at her and told her this was going to happen in one of the places he showed her on the map, the Central Pacific Ocean. She remembered the name because her teacher had pointed to it in class just the day before. That made it stick in her mind. She said after showing her that scene, Jesus gently led her to the next mirror. This one showed something different. It was a city, but she didn't know the name of it. She said there were people walking normally, but suddenly the sky became red and there was a loud noise, like something had exploded from above. The ground shook, windows shattered, and a large building collapsed right before her eyes. She said people screamed and covered their ears, and smoke filled the streets. She said she saw people with wounds, covered in dust and blood, crying out and helping each other. There were fires too, and sirens in the distance. She told me she felt like it was an attack, something that wasn't just an accident. She said Jesus told her this would happen in the two regions he had shown her, one in Northern Asia and one in America. She couldn't tell which of the two places she was seeing at the time, but she knew both places would face something similar. That's how she explained it to me. By this time in her story, I was holding her hand without knowing it. My heart was beating fast. Not because I thought she was lying, but because everything she said felt so clear, so detailed, and so full of things no child her age could make up on her own. She told me Jesus said she should not be afraid, but that he wanted her to go back and tell me what she saw, so we could prepare. Not only for ourselves, but also for her little brother. She said Jesus told her the reason he came was because he didn't want her family to be surprised when these things started to happen. She didn't cry as she spoke, but I could see she was trying hard to be strong. I kept looking at her face and wondering, how could an 11-year-old girl have all this in her mind unless it was shown to her? That was when I started to realize something. The places she spoke about, Central Pacific and Northern Asia, were now the very places I was beginning to hear about on the news. The tsunami, the earthquake, the panic, the disasters. And suddenly her words didn't feel like just a dream. They felt like
When
she
she
finished telling me about the second mirror.
Customized
She said
spiritual
Jesus still
experience
held
that
her
will
hand
slowly,
and took her to
gently,
the third
and
one.
lovingly disconnect
She
you
was
from the
quiet
real,
for a while
messy,
before
and
she
glorious
started
work of seeking
describing
God.
what she saw there.
So, I'm asking
her voice
you,
became
begging
softer,
you to guard your heart,
and I could tell
guard
that
your
what she
connection
saw
to
in
God.
that mirror
Don't
stayed in her
trade
mind
the sacred
deeply.
for the simple.
She told me
Don't
that
let a
the third
machine
mirror
teach you
showed
how
a
to
place
feel,
that looked
how to
calm
connect,
at first.
or how to pray.
People were
Your
walking on the
clumsy,
street,
honest,
some of them
broken
laughing,
prayers are infinitely
others
more
talking to
powerful
each
than
other.
any perfect
But
words a
suddenly,
machine can generate
the
for
ground
you.
began to
Your
shake.
moments of quiet,
She said it started
of wrestling
slowly,
with God,
like a soft
of just
rumble,
being silent
but it
and
quickly
trying to listen
became
for His
louder
voice.
and stronger.
That is where
The
life
earth
is.
opened in some
That
places,
is where He is.
and buildings
He
began
doesn't
to
want
break
your
apart.
perfect words.
She saw
He
people
doesn't
falling
want your
to the ground,
optimized spirituality.
trying to hold on to each
He just
other.
wants you,
There
all
was
of you,
dust
your
and
mask,
debris
your
everywhere.
questions, your
She
tears,
said it was
your
an
heart.
earthquake,
Don't
but
give
not
that most
just a
precious
small
thing
one.
away to a
It
shadow
was
on a
big,
screen.
very
Heaven
big.
is real.
She said
Jesus
some buildings
is alive,
didn't just
and He
crack.
is waiting for you
They
to talk to
completely
Him.
fell to the ground, burying cars and people. She said the road itself broke into pieces, and everything looked like it was being torn apart. She told me she had never seen anything like that before. Not in movies, not in school, not even in stories. And yet, in that mirror, it felt so real to her. Jesus told her that this would happen soon, and that the people in that place would need prayer and help. He said the pain would be great, but that those who trusted Him would not be forgotten. Then she said Jesus led her to the fourth mirror. This one, she said, was the most confusing of all. It didn't show water or fire or the ground shaking. Instead, it showed people turning against each other. She said it was like the people in the mirror were once friends or neighbors, but something had changed. She saw people fighting in the streets, not with fists, but with weapons. Some were shouting in languages she didn't understand. She said there were fires set by people, not by nature. People were angry. Families were running, trying to escape the city. Soldiers were everywhere, and people were hiding in fear. It was not just one place. It looked like many places, but they were all facing the same thing: trouble from inside. It wasn't war from another country. It was people fighting within their own towns. She said Jesus told her that what she was seeing was a kind of division that would happen in some nations. People would not trust each other anymore. Peace would be taken away from certain places, and anger would fill their hearts. She said Jesus looked sad when he showed her this one. At this point, she told me that Jesus turned to her and said she had seen what she needed to see. He reminded her of the names of the places, Northern Asia and the Central Pacific, and then also the other places affected in these visions. He said she must tell her mother, so I would prepare her and her brother for what was coming. Not just prepare for danger, but prepare in prayer, in trust, and in staying close to him. She said she felt her hand still in his, but he no longer walked. Instead, he just smiled, and in a moment, she was back in her room. When she opened her eyes, the room looked the same, but her heart felt different. That was when she came into the kitchen and told me everything, one piece at a time. After she finished telling me all of it, she just sat there looking at me. I could see that she wasn't in a rush. It was like she had carried something heavy and was finally laying it down. I didn't say much at first. I didn't even know what to say. I just sat quietly beside her and held her hands. I could feel her small fingers, and I thought about how young she still was. Just 11. Just a little girl. How could someone that young speak with such calmness about things that serious? Floods, explosions, earthquakes, even people fighting against each other. Part of me wanted to tell her maybe it was just a dream. Maybe it was her imagination. But deep down, I couldn't bring myself to say those words. Because everything she said lined up with things I was now seeing on the news. Tsunami warnings, strange weather patterns, even small tremors being reported in places where it never used to happen. I kept hearing the names she had mentioned, Northern Asia, Central Pacific, on the radio, online, and even from people at church. I remembered the way she had asked me if those places were real, and that stuck with me. That means when Jesus showed her the map, she truly didn't know what it meant until she connected it with what her teacher had said in school. That was how I knew this didn't come from something she read online or heard from adults. It came directly to her, and that frightened me in a way I can't explain. Later that evening, while her brother was watching cartoons, she came and sat beside me again. She asked me if I believed her. I told her I didn't understand everything, but I believed her. I asked her if she was afraid during the experience. She said no. She said that with all the scary things she saw, water rushing, people crying, buildings falling, she still felt safe because Jesus was holding her hand the whole time. That night, I couldn't sleep well. I kept waking up, thinking about each mirror she described. I kept picturing the people in the flood, the explosions, the ground breaking open, and the fighting. But what stayed with me most was the thought that Jesus chose to show it to my daughter. Not a preacher, not a prophet, not someone who knows how to speak big words, but a small girl in grade 6, who still liked coloring books and stuffed animals. I started praying, quietly, with tears in my eyes. I asked God to give me wisdom. I asked him to help me prepare her and her brother, like she said. I didn't know what to do, but I knew I had to do something. The next day, I spoke to a friend from church about it, without saying too much. She told me she had also been feeling something unusual in her spirit, like a warning, but she didn't know what it meant. When I told her what my daughter had shared, she became quiet. Then she told me I should pray more and maybe even tell others when the time is right. And that's why I'm now writing this, or sharing it, because I can't keep quiet anymore. Not when I see the places she mentioned already starting to shake. Not when I see the flood reports, the alerts, the fear rising in people. Let us not wait until it touches our own homes before we turn to God. The time to pray is now. The time to seek God's mercy is now. And if Jesus could speak to an 11-year-old girl with a simple heart, then surely he is still speaking to all who are willing to listen. As for me and my house, we will continue to pray. We will stay ready. And we will hold on to the hand that led my daughter through those mirrors, the hand of Jesus. Because even in disaster, He is still near.